Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Jessica Clemons, and we're back with round 2 of Gen V. So much happens in this 3-episode premiere: Project Odessa, Confederate frats, and a secret Nazi room. Oh my. So let's just jump right into it with all the details and Easter eggs that you might have missed. And as a warning, I'll be spoiling the first 3 episodes, the 3-episode premiere and all. So if you haven't watched it, I recommend go watching it, then return back here for the complete breakdown. But first, before we really get into it, make sure to check out nerdriot.shop, where you can always find the latest and greatest in New Rockstars merch. We got Godolkin University merch over there, baby. Don't you guys like our university shirts? I love the Xavier Institute one. Now we got one for Godolkin University. Now thinking about it, if you're fans of the show, you know that they're basically the satirical version of the X-Men, but in a bad way. We're not talking about the comics, we're talking about the show. Go get your Godolkin University merch. It's great. Go over to nerdriot.shop. It's the best way to support the channel. All right, let's get into the breakdown. Episode 1 is titled New Year, New You, which is fitting seeing as the gang will be returning to God You. The recap highlights significant moments such as the oxymoron of Marie saying God You was the best thing to happen to her, alongside the horrific moment when Golden Boy offed himself. We also see the moment that left Marie an orphan after she killed her parents. The Elmira adult facility, which we saw the teenager being sent to in the first episode of the first season, is now where the gang is being held. Andre and his father continue struggling with their deteriorating mental powers, and they remind us Thomas Godolkin built this place to find out what makes soups tick, whilst Victoria Newman, God rest her soul, and others remind us just how powerful and important Marie is. And of course, Kate tells Marie she's trying to save them during the school attack in the final episode. Each of these highlights are big hurdles in the 3-episode premiere, and we explore exactly why Marie is just so important, how Andre and his dad are coping, and what's the deal with Thomas Godolkin anyways. So after the recap, the episode opens with a simple title card that says for Chance. And as some know, Chance Perdomo, who played Andre in season 1, sadly passed away in 2024 after a motorcycle accident before he began filming season 2. We're in 1967, beginning with a time jump. Nice. I Can't Take My Eyes Off You from Frankie Valli plays, which also was released in 1967. You know what else was released in 1967? Crimson, starring Crimson Countess, God rest her soul.
You can tell that it is, 'cause their eyes stay dry.
The song is a funny one to play in contrast to what we see on the screen. Not only is it a song about longing for someone or something extraordinary or something just abnormally perfect, much like these scientists who are quickly testing the compound V on themselves to become soups. They really want to be soups just as much as Frankie Valli really wants that love. We've seen different variations of compound V with its blue tone while temp V is green. Clearly there are various versions, as compound V is a product that must be refined over time to improve upon the previous iteration. Over the years, it has been found that compound V has a higher success rate in younger people compared to adults. In season 2, it's revealed that Voss has been secretly working for years to address the low survival rate of compound V in adults by establishing the Sage Grove Center. Children and infants may not exhibit immediate powers, as we see with most of the babies and how they grow up. Look at Marie. There's ups and downs and always better ways to better the substance. So the milkier version of compound V that we're seeing right now must have been a batch researched by Thomas Godolkin and for Project Odessa. We're introduced to Thomas Godolkin, the founder of God You, played by Ethan Slater, aka Mr. Ariana Grande. I'm not here to bring up their past, but I am here to call him Mr. Ariana Grande. That was Gina, and I like it. So far, our knowledge of Godolkin, Vought, and Compound V is limited to their mention. So in season 1 of Gen V, Kate pushed Dean Shetty to reveal the truth that Godolkin was a behavioral scientist using the college as a front to study soups and their abilities. He founded the university in 1965 with Frederick Price, who defected to the Allies after World War II. As for their timeline, the school opened in 65, and 2 years later, I presume they want us to believe that he died in this fire. The door has a sign, and that sign says Odessa Project security clearance is required. We first heard about the Odessa Project in The Boys season 4 when Homelander went back to that lab where he was raised as a kid. There was a memo on the board with the project named Odessa on it. The scientists then self-test this drug that definitely was not ready. But what I love about this horrific scene, which I'm sure I cannot show you on YouTube, is that everyone has powers, but their normal human bodies just can't withstand them. Tentacle Guy and Fireman, their powers just destroy their bodies. This, in my opinion, is just a keynote that I just want us to hold on to for a little bit later, because I think this trial relates to Cipher's later argument about how the students don't fully grasp their own anatomy and how their powers develop as catalysts within their bodies. Understanding their bodies helps identify their powers' potential. Godolkin passes out reaching for the fire alarm, and that's when it's revealed who he is by his name tag. And what's great about his name tag is that it specifies he works for Vought American, which was the name before it became Vought International. He's also a member of the research facility facility for Project Odessa. The punch holes on the side most likely represent the other wings within Bot that he had clearance for, FMOJN. The expiration date? Indefinite, meaning he's locked into these Bot games forever. We then immediately jump into a soup propaganda video, the first shot of the Starlighters and home teamers in front of the New York County Courthouse holding protest signs the day that Homelander was found not guilty of the murder charges last season. If you see in the bottom left, it's brought to you by Godolkin University, so we knew what this video was really about anyways. They give us a memoriam of soups who passed away, which is always a really fun thing to do. Funny enough though, they've used this exact font and photo just in color during the V52 Expo for Ezekiel. They love capitalizing on Ezekiel's death. It's always Ezekiel first. He was the religious soup and leader for Capes for Christ, and he was ripped apart by Butcher in season 4 of The Boys. Tech Knight, who unfortunately died in my favorite episode, he was strangled to death in his own sex dungeon by Elijah, his butler. Queen Maeve actually faked her own death and went into hiding to get away from Homelander. She was depowered when fighting Soldier Boy, and Vought made up some story about how she died a hero. And then we have Victoria Newman. Butcher ripped her in half with his tentacles in season 4. They're now spinning Newman's death for propaganda by trying to tie it to the deep state, a right-wing conspiracy talking point and catch-all boogeyman. They're pushing that Robert Singer and Starlight hatched this plan together, and it's worth reminding that the video that was released at the end of the last season of The Boys showed Singer plotting Newman's assassination, and after she was killed, they just blamed it all on Singer. And with that tacky statue within Godolkin University that she would have actually hated. She would have hated the statue says, "Rest in power." You get it? Because she has soup powers. Oh god, she would have hated this. Her death inspired Calhoun to enlist Homelander to watch over the soups. We'll see later in episode 3, which may be new, Victoria Newman's named after their student union. President Calhoun, if you don't remember, was in season 1 of The Boys. He was the senator from Oklahoma. Madeline Stillwell blackmailed him by having Doppelganger shift into that hot woman and then shift back to himself in the middle of banging Calhoun. Stillwell took photos and held them over his head to control him, and President Calhoun just kind of sucks. Kate is now ranked number 1 at the school and Sam is number 2. Justine and Rufus are also shown, but they don't have ranks. Justine is the influencer who has that YouTube channel where she gossips about all the other students, including outing Emma for having an eating disorder last season. And Rufus was the one who uses powers of hypnosis to date rape people at school. Kate ordered him to hit himself in the dick over and over and over again with a baseball bat earlier in season 1, and then later Marie blew up his penis after he tried to assault her. In a very funny note, other than his dick being gone, Kate and Sam don't have descriptions for who they are because everyone knows them after saving Godolkin. But Justine is the multi-hyphenate influencer, and Rufus is the Gamma Epsilon Delta fraternity president, which is funny because that's an acronym that just spells GED. We then meet the new Dean, Dean Cipher, played by Hamish Linklater from Midnight Mass and Legion. He's also the voice of Batman in the Cape Crusader. We don't know what his powers are, but a cipher is usually a coded message or a way to encode a message so that people can't tell the true meaning. And I also think, you know, Dean Cipher, D Cipher, it's in the name. I don't know if that's got anything to do with his powers, but based on the fact that he wants the soup students to understand their powers, maybe his power is decoding how other soup's powers works. And it sounds like another man we know, maybe Thomas Godolkin, which will return to a theory that the two are connected very shortly. Just hold on. At the Elmira Adult Rehabilitation Center, this is where they store Jordan, Marie, and Emma and Andre. Jordan hits their head against the wall, changing between their male and female form with each hit. Inside the van, Emma is luckily there, and the two believe that it's their time to now die. And once the van stops moving and the doors open, it's the next day, and oh great, it's Kate. Kate got them out, and this is where we all learn what happened to Andre.
Where the hell is Andre?
Why don't you read my mind?
We need to go back.
Oh my God. No. But, when did it happen?
You.
Jordan, Emma, I didn't know.
So they incorporate Chance Perdramo's death, but not in a gratuitous manner. We find out later that he died when he's trying to escape with Emma and Jordan. He tried to use his ability to manipulate the massive steel doors in the facility, but it was just too much for his powers, and the excessive strain caused a stroke, leading to his death. Then we meet Stacy Ferreira, the new head of student life. She's from class of 2013, an alumnus, so good for her, I guess. She's like a wasp, but like a real wasp, and she'll die if she stings someone, and it seems like a pretty shitty superpower if you ask me, and this woman is kind of like a straight up bitch, and I love her. Jordan and Emma are then brought out on the stage, returning to God U for a bit of a press conference. Jordan and Emma both have complicated relationships with their parents. Emma's mom is a stage mom who encouraged her eating disorder, and Jordan's parents want them to stay one gender. After After everything they've been through, they're forcing Jordan to lie, and they just return to the school as if nothing even happened, and with a backdrop of God, You, the Guardians of Godolkin, and Vought International. The amount of press surrounding these 3 episodes, they recognize narratives can be pushed and manipulated quickly through social media, and it's honestly a little bit triggering for us in America. The Dean sums up the Guardians taking down the woods, saying the virus they made was destroyed, every single trace of it, which we know isn't true after the last season of The Boys. Additionally, Jordan remembers seeing the Dean at Elmira through their window. Then the Dean says this:
"Because it is high time that humans and race traitors like Starlight learn that what runs through our veins is true Vought blue."
And this is where I believe, damn right, he's a Cipher for a human. And I'll return to this. I promise I'll return to this. I don't think this is a human. I don't know what this is. When we return to the Dean's office, Cipher's mixing peanut butter and chicken and a bunch of other supplements to make the grossest protein shake I can think of. And it's too bizarre not to call out. It lines up with his overall strangeness, the clipped, awkward way he speaks, his murky soup history, and the unsettling breadcrumbs we've been given about him. We know he spent some time at Vought Mexico City's office. We saw him in Elmira. He called Starlight a race traitor, and in episode 2 we learned that Thomas Godolkin himself was part of the same Confederate fraternity as Rufus, so the racism clearly doesn't stop with Frederick Vought. Cipher also runs the seminar that supposedly helps students understand and unlock their powers, and that ties directly back to Godolkin's larger mission. The school was always meant as a lab to experiment on and study soups. We even saw glimpses of Project Odessa, his team's work, both in the opening flashback of Gen V and again on the memo board in The Boys Season 4. Which brings me to my overall theory. I don't think Cipher and Godolkin are separate people. I think they're one and the same. Maybe Cipher is a vessel carrying Thomas Godolkin's consciousness, or maybe his brain has literally been transplanted into this body. That would explain his weird, bizarre diet, just fuel to keep the human shell alive. It would also explain why Cipher is so obsessed with unlocking the perfect soup. To Vought, that's a weapon, which is why Annie calls it a weapon, but to him, it's about ambition and desire. As Annie says, Godolkin is an ambitious piece of shit, and Cipher might just be his latest disguise. I think the reason he also warns Kate not to read his mind is that she'll learn that he's barely human. When talking to Kate about their dynamic, he mentions that Kate and Sam's movie flipped and how bad it was, and we'll see a trailer for it later, but they also revealed that movie during V52. The weather is starting to change, and before I had Miracle Made sheets, that meant I'd have to trade out my summer sheets for some thicker fall fabric, but now I don't have to. I can sleep on the same sheets all year long. Miracle Made's fabric was inspired by NASA, so it's thermoregulating. That means you'll sleep at the perfect temperature all night long, and these sheets are crazy comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands. Plus, Miracle Made sheets are infused with silver that prevents bacterial growth, and bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne, so sleeping on Miracle Made sheets is good for your skin too. Upgrade your sleep as the weather changes. Go to trymiracle.com/newrockstars to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use promo New Rockstars at checkout, you'll get a free 3-piece towel set and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/newrockstars and use the code NEWROCKSTARS to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/newrockstars to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring today's video. We're finally with Marie now, and she's clearly on the run, and she stopped at a Vought gas station. Inside, they have Firecracker's American-themed version of Takis. Marie splurges on the Brave Maeve Pride Bar, and she purchases some Vought Fresh Farm Trail Mix. There's just so many brands, and I'll try to call out some of them, but we get the gist by now. There's so many brands in the boys' world for Vought. At her motel, we see Haley Miller is back, and she's a reoccurring character on The Boys and Gen V. She was the one who interviewed Marie in season 1 and told her that she found her sister, who didn't want to take part in the interview. So this must suck seeing her after spending hours on a traceless cell phone searching for her sister. Marie is wandering around Vought Farms and runs into some home teamers provoking Starlighters. One of them says this:
"You're all monsters. You probably douche with adrenochrome."
Hey.
Adrenochrome is a real chemical compound, but it's also the subject of an insane QAnon conspiracy. Basically that a satanic cabal is harvesting adrenochrome from the bodies of kids that they kidnap and murder. Yeah, that's it. We're moving on. Then this dickhead punches Marie, but little did he know he was about to get his ass handed right back to him. We saw some of this fight during the trailer, and honestly, I don't think we can share much of it here on YouTube. So let's move on. Emma goes to Polarity's house, and Polarity isn't doing great. He throws a chair at his Area 51 movie poster that's starring himself, and you can see all the Vought medication on his table, so Polarity still has those micro tears in his brain. Similar to Andre, they both get tremors and migraines that can lead to strokes. Then we meet this nasty son of a bitch, Dognot. He's also in the comics. Zach McGowan plays Dognot. You might remember he was rejected from the 7.
Hold up.
I thought he ate a dog.
He ate out a dog. It's a big difference.
Which makes this scene so much more worse.
Hey, beautiful.
Also in this scene, you can see Black Noir's superpowered shave ad on the side of the trash can because again, everyone that's a soup gets a brand deal. So Dognot's like a parody of Sabretooth from X-Men. He has canine telepathy, cancer detection, super hearing, night vision, but he hates fireworks. He can summon feral canines to his aid, which he probably did here and then called that dog a straight up bitch. I assume his show Pound Town with Dognot is also canceled, seeing that he now works for Voss. Side note, I also like that they call him Dognot the Bounty Hunter, like Dog the Bounty Hunter, you get it? We ventured to Rufus's shitty ass frat, and here we learn, of course, the Deep was a president of his fraternity from 2004 to 2008. His name is listed as Kevin Kohler, but everywhere online clocks him as Mouskowitz. And I went back through a lot of season 2 and season 3 for a last name drop, and I did not hear it. I searched through Amazon Prime and a lot of social media, and I didn't see the last name penned there either. I think we never actually knew what his last name was until now. Correct me if I'm wrong. I went searching, and maybe it's always been Kevin Kohler. The names of the other people a part of the fraternity are also some of the people that worked on the show, like Kevin, the construction coordinator, Liam Ward, the camera operator, Wayne Thomas, who's the artist, who yes, is also Bruce's dad's name backwards, Tim Braniff, the electrician. It goes on. Emma and Jordan are really going through it. After boofing, Jordan just swaddles this man's stomach with their fist, and that beer expels directly out his rectum.
I'm gonna get pink eye.
Again, don't know if I can show this, but I described it perfectly. Justine starts harassing Emma and talks about her new podcast that talks about fashion and Amazon Prime's hit show The Summer I Turned Pretty on Vodify, clearly a spin-off of Spotify. Vodify is barely mentioned, but A-Train did a Vodify recap back in 2022 where his song Faster was #1. We see that Emma gets smaller when she cries again like she did in season 1, and after last season she began to notice that her powers were more tied to her emotions rather than binging and purging. And now Dognot finds Marie in her motel, and we get a pretty epic showdown that we saw bits of in the trailer already. She at one point dunks his head in the toilet, which I think is great because dogs like drinking out of the toilet, so this is probably like a perk for him. And there she is in all her glory, saving the day. Annie. After season 4's finale, while most everyone has been taken into custody, Starlight actually got away, flying away from Cindy at the end to God knows where. Annie tells Marie there's probably 20 more Vought soups on their payroll along with Dognot, and from last season we know clearly Homelander, there's Firecracker, Sister Sage, the Deep, and whoever this Black Noir is. Then we have Kate and Sam as our guardians, Love Sausage, Cindy, and Dognot, so I expect to see other soups, maybe barely heard of soups, coming to Homelander's aid. Then we get this conversation.
Why would I ever go back there?
Because it's the safest place for you. And I need your help. Thomas Godolkin spearheaded a research program called Project Odessa. And we think that's the main fucking reason he started the school.
What were they researching?
We don't know. But we have a source that says Vought is resuming the program. And that's why I need you to find out so we can stop it.
From Annie, we learned that Project Odessa may be as big and as dangerous as a nuke, could be used by Homelander like a nuke. Vought resumed the program, which means at some point it must have been shut down. That could have been after Homelander slaughtered everyone in that lab that we first saw the Odessa memo, though that's never been outright confirmed, I'm just suggesting. Either way, Annie does believe that Odessa is a weapon, and she asked Marie to be her inside source and guide you to see what Odessa might be. We find out at the end of episode 2 that Odessa is Marie, and there's breadcrumbs through the episodes that led that on. And we'll get into those breadcrumbs in a minute. Back with Polarity, he's been watching a lot of soup porn, I guess. I don't know how much I can show you guys on YouTube, but the titles are pretty graphic. We've seen soup porn like this before in the first episode of Gen V season 1. The weird kid was watching it at the orphanage. My boy's into some freaky rough shit. However, as you can see, his tremors begin again, and with that new fueled hatred fire for Cipher after knowing he has something to do with his son, Polarity's ready for war. Marie! Emma and Jordan find Marie back at the gas station she was at earlier in the episode, and they fight on site immediately about her escaping, leaving them at Elmira and Andre dying. Then, of course, Kate comes out of nowhere, because Kate just has to keep showing up, trying to lure Marie back to Godolkin.
Marie, you have to come back to school.
No f***ing way.
And in that moment, Kate reads her mind and finds out Marie met with Starlight and knows about Project Odessa to a degree. When Kate started to approach Marie with her hand out, clearly about to use her powers, Jordan reacts and throws that bitch against the brick wall, causing her skull to literally break and blood to spill out, and they let her fade. She's not dead though, but they don't know that. And then cue Stevie Nicks' 1981 hit Edge of 17, because the edge of living, I guess. Episode 2 is titled Justice Never Forgets. Shh. That's how they say it, and I really like it. It's very funny.
Things were tough for a minute. After what happened.
The episode begins with a very forced video from Marie for social media.
Now, my healing is complete, which is why I'm so pumped to be back at God U.
They're at a laundromat, and I assume this is because she barely has any clean clothes after being in hiding for so long. Emma actually says a really funny line that I want to address.
And the less you look like you just Gypsy Rose Kate. Can you stop saying that? The less likely they'll connect you to her.
So Gypsy Rose Blanchard, for those who don't know, was a victim of mental and physical abuse at the hands of her mother, who kept her daughter sick. Gypsy Rose was convicted of second-degree murder when she helped her boyfriend kill her abusive mother, and she's now free, and you can follow her on TikTok. Then we cue the music, and it's a cover to MGMT's Time to Pretend, which really reflects how the gang feels about returning to this hellhole. It's time to pretend. The Invisible Man taking a dump is Maverick. We know of him from season 1. He's the son of Translucent, who was originally in the 7, but he was killed by Huey and the boys when they detonated a bomb that was up in his butt. The girl with the tail is Harper, also from season 1. She was roommates with Justine and also an influencer. She has a bigger role this season. And Rufus is pissed that Marie is returning back to the school because she exploded his dick last season, which maybe don't assault people, Rufus. Cipher clearly knows Marie, Emma, and Jordan are responsible for Kate being in the hospital, and he's just kind of toying with Marie here, and he can also read her like a book. Firecracker spins Kate's attack as a hate crime against the soup, and the bottom reads, "Hate crimes against superheroes happen every hour in America with absolutely no source," because why would Firecracker have sources? Sam watches, and we immediately think, wow, Sam will most likely go back to being mentally unstable without Kate to make him forget about everything. And then we're kind of right. Firecracker still got the breast milk filled boobs, and as a reminder, she took unsafe medication to breastfeed Homelander, because you can do that. Later, the group realized that Cipher definitely knows that they were the ones who nearly killed Kate, and Jordan asked,
Then why aren't we dead or back in tomorrow?
and the answer is simple, because Marie is Project Odessa. She's too important to get rid of. And the easiest way to control her is by keeping her grounded through the people she cares the most about. Marie is guilt-driven, easy to manipulate, so if Vought uses Emma or Jordan as leverage or turns them into pawns, she'll have no choice but to stay put. Sam visits Kate in the hospital, interrogating the nurses.
Who could have done that to her?
And then Kate grabs the nurse, possesses her, speaks through her, saying,
They left me to die. Emma, help me.
Emma.
As we know, Emma was the last person to leave Kate's body behind, and honestly, she didn't push Kate against the wall or even have powers to save her like Marie, so what was she gonna do? Then the nurse begins to murder another nurse, which might stem from Kate's internal emotions acting as a catalyst in this minimal coma-like state. We now have an influencer class because we need one of those, and it promotes political agendas and narratives that not everyone agrees with. It's important to remember that Emma was once an influencer herself. Therefore, it's not surprising that the teacher is aware of her status.
You still have the 9th largest social media following on campus.
Especially considering her current role as a guardian of Godolkin. The teacher's name is Modesty Monarch, which she's like some right-wing trad wife kind of person. She's not from the comics, and she kind of sucks. After discovering that Andre was aware of his illness, a small argument breaks out between Marie and Jordan. Then Stacy, the bee woman, arrives and unexpectedly vomits some honey.
It's honey. What?
And when nobody responds, she shrugs and says, "Your loss."
Anywho.
She has to be the worst superhero ever, and girl, just keep that stinger hidden. If one person bumps into you, you're both dead, so maybe just cover that shit up.
Watch the stinger. Hey, do you want to die? Neither do I.
Now back with the polarity and a not so bad strategy, he gets hired as the new associate dean of marketing.
I'm just happy I can give something back to my alma mater. I mean, a chance to be in the first all-super faculty in Godolkin history.
Then we jump to the Heroes Optimization Seminar, which is the room where everyone's about to get their ass kicked. The studio used to be Big Chief Apache's Diversity and Equity Center, and I guess in this universe too, people and places are getting rid of the DEI, so it's topical, as you know the boys usually is. Big Chief Apache we've seen before spoofing the anti-littering PSA from back in the day, which is even more funny to be driving that the Diversity and Equity Center was named after a clearly white man. The exercise that the class has to do is push the button to get out of the class, but they have to make it past Vicor. Vicor is a character in the comics, and he's very Thor-coded. He's played by the actor and MMA fighter Tate Fletcher, and he also played that huge guy in The Mandalorian. He also had a movie on Vought, like most superheroes immediately get. Then he immediately crushed this kid's spine. None of the other kids are really helping but Marie and Jordan. And this person who does run for the button, Vicor Happy Gilmore's a weight into her body into the wall. The thing is, Annie said Godolkin was ambitious, and if Godolkin is Cipher, this man is ambitious. He basically just said, man, them kids. He is murdering these children. This scene isn't supposed to be funny, but the way that Vicor is just murdering these kids, please stop. Stop it. Marie stops Vicor's heart, and in a scary move, he keeps his heart beating by recirculating the heartbeat, which is literally insane. Luckily, it gives Jordan enough time to press the button. It's now obvious Marie plays such an important role, as Vicor is specifically targeting her in this trial, and Jordan even acknowledges it. Cipher knows how important Marie is and how she is Project Odessa. The key question still remains though, what exactly is Odessa? Is it something to take down Homelander, or something Vought wants to use like Homelander? How is Odessa really benefiting all those that are interested in it? Rufus is now bullying this poor Jitterbean employee about the Resist Starlight poster that she didn't even put up. Luckily, Emma saves her from Super Dickless. Additionally, Jitterbean is a running brand in the boys universe for a very long time now. Black Noir Coffee, Black Noir Dark Roast, which feels insane knowing his downfall was during Operation Charlie, where the CIA backed the Contras with Vought's soup team Payback, and they stored drugs trafficked into the US on that damn Black Noir coffee shipment. Crazy to bring it all back to it, but we gotta bring it back full circle. Wrap around. You can also see on the bulletin board, but it's a better view in episode 3, there's a note here stating that for every cup of Black Noir Dark Roast sold, 10 cents will be donated to the rainforest. And I don't know which rainforest, but a reminder that Black Noir 1, the first Black Noir, killed an entire Indonesian fishing village for Vought Fresh Farms to stop the protesters from stopping Vought's expansion. I don't know if they're referring to the mini rainforest in Indonesia or the village within or around them, but this feels like an added you to the humans in this world. On the other hand, Polarity approaches Emma for help uncovering what happened to his son and wanting to burn down the school, take down the 7 Tower, and then killing Cipher, which go ahead, my dude, like 100%. In a very, very sad way, Polarity bringing up the fact that only his son died while imprisoned, a young black man where the rate of incarceration for black Americans is 5 times higher than white Americans, and many are serving life sentences and will die in prison, just makes this all so much worse and harder. Marie and Jordan spend much needed time together. Thankfully, they start really talking it out. The cover of The Outfield's Your Love is super popular on TikTok. It starts playing and Jordan and Marie are back to loving each other, and I'm rooting for them through everything. Last season, Jordan mentioned dating women who only wanted to date them when they were in their male form, so asking Marie if she's okay with them in the female form as well and getting that answer must be super important and meaningful to them. Emma and Polarity make their way to the Godolkin University archives. Weirdly, I actually really love this duo. Give me more detective work from Emma and Polarity. They run into the Rememberer, aka Kyle, which is a funny play off the job that is in archives, as though he remembers every single thing there, and he clearly does. He's organizing some books, and one of the books he's archiving is Lily Sardi's 3rd edition, Under Capes of Something and Super by Law. These are just in-universe books, but Under the Cape one is banned, because they be banning books. Polarity mentions the last time that they saw Kyle was during Vought Summertime Clubhouse, which is yet another show from Vought Plus. This one was kind of like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. He then corrects Polarity with his oh so great superpower of reminding him that the last time they actually saw each other was May 21st, 2005 at a casting across the street from the Sherman Oaks Cheesecake Factory, which is right by the Regal and my Cheesecake Factory. Let's go. That is my Cheesecake Factory. I love that Cheesecake Factory. And then my gym is right above it. Double-edged sword for me. The audition was for Area 51, which should remind you that's the poster that we saw in Polarity's home. This was his hit movie that was followed up by 3 sequels, Area 52, Area 53, and Area 51 Reborn. It's like Men in Black, which is why Kyle remembers him with the high top fade, which I guess can be reminiscent of Will Smith in the first Men in Black movie, but I bet Polarity's was much higher. Then Emma reveals that she was a fan of the Remember as a child. She says that he should have gotten a sequel, to which he already wrote the script for it, and this is what he said.
If Taylor Sheridan doesn't need a writer's room, neither do I.
And this is amazing because Taylor Sheridan notoriously does not hire writers' rooms for his shows. He writes all the episodes himself and is famously anti-union, anti-WGA, which dictates that all shows need writers' rooms, so this is a burn from the Gen V writers for sure. And then they say the title of the episode together.
Justice never forgets. Shh.
Now becoming friends with Kyle allows them to search the archives, which brings them to this dimly lit room filled with limitless storage boxes. Back at the frat, and oh my god, of course the Deep is the president of a Confederate frat group. He then retells the story of the fraternity.
In 1861, a small community of fine white Mississippi men founded this fraternity to protect their core values against the Northern aggression, and for no other reason. Thomas Godolkin himself was a member of the Gamma Epsilon Delta chapter. Today, as you were inducted into our sacred brotherhood. Our legacy, it would do you well to remember our 3 trinities: wisdom, honor, and dignity.
You know, I rarely take anything that Deep says with any honesty, but he mentions that Godolkin was a member of this racist frat, so it's not surprising that we later see that Godolkin archive secret room full of a lot of racist shit. Emma clocks that there's a secret room behind one of the shelves, and Polarity uses his powers even though he's not supposed to because it can cause brain damage. Alas, he opens the door. There's always a secret racist room in the world of the boys, like there always has to be. Or a secret sex dungeon. There's a lot of Nazi memorabilia here, old Voss posters that feel very Nazi-ish, along with a drawer that says Thomas Godolkin on it. We know Frederick Voss as the Nazi scientist, but I guess I just assumed the KKK would just go hand in hand once he came to America. A storyline similar to maybe Watchmen's Hooded Justice, literally our Black Noir had to be fully covered because he's black before Soldier Boy destroyed him, and now he just wears the costume because he's half destroyed. Regardless, it hasn't really been explored yet, the KKK. However, I'm sure it'll be explored during the Voss series that we're gonna get later on. We also see a specific World War II German Hermann Göring Division car pennant. In this book, that's a bit of the dictionary for French language that was published from 1928 to 1933 during Nazis. We see more Nazi memorabilia. This is actually Big Chief Apache's outfit. The X red markings and the white band and feathers are identical, which unfortunately leads me to believe that due to the woke left, they are probably forced to retire Big Chief Apache, but maybe knowing that DEI maybe would like fail, they kept it ready in the secret room. Maybe this is like how Trump is demanding the return of the Washington Redskins. Polarity looks at these men in the KKK hoods and a burning cross and short shorts, and it feels like this is the initiation from that damn frat that the Deep was talking about. It's also a page from the boys comic, issue number 64.
In 1861, a small community of fine white Mississippi men founded this fraternity to protect their core values against the Northern aggression, and for no other reason.
Emma finds the paperwork on the Project Odessa. It is a bunch of dead babies born in New York City, and I've been trying to zoom in and read every entry on these birth certificates, and all I can really make out is that one of those babies has my birthday. It's a Capricorn baby, but it's dead. After figuring it all out, High Emma immediately gets big, but because she ripped out of her clothes, we later see Emma wearing the Rememberer sweatshirt after she got big at the archives. We learn that the sweet guy at the gas station who paid for Marie's food actually died, and the headline says, "Dog Knot, Starlighter around and finds out," and suspected terrorist thug had long history of unlawful behavior and mental illness. Of course, Vought obviously is just making up stories here. Although, like Annie warned, good people keep dying to Vought every day, standing for her beliefs, and that shit really sucks, and it makes you really rethink it, right, Marie? Maybe figure out what Project Odessa is. And that's when Emma reveals that Odessa is in fact Marie Moreau, or more so, maybe the only living baby from the Odessa Project recorded is Marie Moreau. Psych, because Homelander exists. And I presume Homelander was also part of Odessa, given that the project name and the memo for Odessa was in the same lab where he was studied. I think that what we're seeing is that only two babies that we know of actually survived it, Homelander and Marie. What's interesting is the way that both babies were conceived, which leads me to believe that Odessa is a bigger project. We're only getting small pieces of this Odessa project, and we'll later learn maybe that the kids in the Gladiator murder class are also children of Project Odessa. In episode 3, we'll see more close-ups of other baby certificates. The babies are usually born around the year 2000, and majority of them, if not like all of them, are born in New York, hence the, New York birth certificates. The doctors have changed though, and as Jordan confirms in episode 3, there's no cause of death listed on there. They're just labeled as deceased. Episode 3 is titled H is for Human, and this works in a couple of ways. A, it references the Vought children's show, Avenue V, which plays off a lot of Sesame Street, which famously had the Cookie Monster song.
C is for cookie, that's good enough for me.
C, like H is for Human. We'll be returning to Sam's hallucinations of the puppet-like characters this episode, so it's all kind of fitting. And B, Dean Cipher absolutely isn't a human. I don't know what he is yet, but that man ain't a human. He's a vessel, or maybe he's a human vessel, or maybe he's just a brain in a human person. I don't know. I can't put my fingers on it, but H is for Human I think also aligns with Dean Cipher. We open with Olivia Rodrigo's song Brutal, which is a great song, fantastic song. I love Olivia Rodrigo. Although the song's about the pressures of growing up, the lyrics talk about the horrible pressure she's living in a world as a teenager, which can unfortunately really relate to the oppression of human lives on God U's campus right now. We focus on the barista that we saw last episode when Rufus was yelling at her, and this poor girl is popping Xanax like it's Tums. They're segregating the entrances, so human workers must enter through a separate barbed wire entrance where a man assaults you with his x-ray vision and allows you onto campus. We hear this swoosh noise that we'll also learn later is a soup that's constantly hanging up the Resist, the Pro Starlighter flyers, and this poor human barista just doesn't want to be killed for doing nothing. Then we meet this young soup who can spit spit acid, and he's wearing a Homelander t-shirt where the words say "Sorry, Snowflake," and Homelander giving a double middle fingers. Ew. Back with the entire team, they talk about Odessa, and there's also a poster for Opposites Attract, and let me tell you, our man Polarity spent more time as an actor than an actual superhero, I think. Jordan then straight up questions whether we should trust Starlight, and I'm always down to trust Starlight. I am pro Starlight, you guys, but I think this moment is still very, very important. The writers put these doubts in for a reason, and Jordan questioning Starlight and Polarity wanting to use Maria as a weapon and nobody really knowing what's going on, all of that is meant to make us question things too. The adults this season also seem really intent, or at least on trying to stop the self-harm that's happening with a lot of these soups. Polarity here is asking Emma about the purging, and Cipher later when he asked Marie why she cuts herself. With Emma, for Emma, while she stopped the cycle of like binging and purging, she's basically just swapped it for mentally breaking herself down to trigger her powers, and it's still very, very harmful, just in a different way, and it leaves her stuck choosing between two really unhealthy options. Emma consistently is rolling with the punches after being released from Elmira, so I think this season they might be setting up Harper to help Emma find a way to access her powers without destroying herself physically or emotionally, which could be a huge step forward with her character. Marie and Jordan then list off these chosen ones from books and film and TV. They list off Harry Potter, Neo from The Matrix, and Frodo from The Lord of the Rings, and these are all examples of baby-faced white dudes. Daniel Radcliffe, Keanu Reeves, Elijah Wood. If those aren't baby faces, then I don't know what baby faces are. Coming from resident babyface. Back at God U, influencers cover Kate's return. We have Rat Tail Harper, Justine styling the famous beanie that Kate's wearing when she comes back from the hospital. Jesus Christ. And this guy with a gross lizard tongue. So we finally kind of learned that Kate has a fake arm. Marie made her arm explode when Kate reached for Jordan to use her powers on them, and Kate has a fake arm and part of her skull is now fake too, so she's becoming more Sith-like than we know it. Andre had holes in his brain, and in a way it feels like every soup is suffering in some way because humans were never meant to have the powers. Like, this kind of goes back to the very beginning. Their human bodies couldn't withstand the powers, and now their soup powers are destroying their human bodies. And such a weird line, our B-girl then says this.
Well, now hear this. Bob has commissioned a new wig for you, fashioned with virgin hair, taking off the same Norwegian twins they use for Beyonce's wigs.
And this is a weird pull that I kind of feel like this maybe a black writer wrote this episode. There's this really weird rumor online in like 2022 or like during the pandemic that Beyonce had two Norwegian twins grow their hair out to make her wigs. And I think it was later spun into a bunch of different bits and narratives, like they followed a strict vegan diet for 2 years to grow that hair. So whoever wrote that line, I need you to step to the goddamn front immediately. I need you to answer to these crimes. That is such a weird conspiracy theory. That's so specific. I need to know who wrote that in. We also learned that the school goes through a Thomas Godolkin day that Cipher resurrected, and back in the day, it looked like this was the night a virgin could sleep with the deep, which why would you want to do that? I digress. It is Thomas Godolkin day. At the Gladiator murder class, Marie's going up against Fiona, who's wearing a sick Berserk shirt with the Dragon Slayer on it. Cipher tells Marie after disapproving of the way she cuts herself to gain her powers that she's Angelina Jolie in Girl Interrupted, but he wants to turn her into like Angelina Jolie in Salt. Jolie's character in Girl Interrupted was in a psychiatric hospital in the movie, and she was diagnosed with BPD. In Salt, she was just a CIA operative. On campus with Sam and Justine, in the background, this sad-ass kid is tossing a football to himself. Without Kate's powers to take them away, Sam's repressed memories of all the bad crap he's done are really just coming back. Sam starts hallucinating again, and the sandwich is now talking to him, and he's voiced by Sean Rouhani, who's done additional voices for the boys, but is also the voice of Prismo and Fiona and Cake. Kumail Nanjiani does it in Adventure Time. The sandwich says this.
Remember that woman that you grabbed? She was screaming for her boyfriend, but you just dragged her away.
This is referring to Kimiko and Frenchie at the end of season 4 when he separated the two of them. The Sun then starts spewing a bunch of random conspiracy theories, JFK Jr. faking his death, 5G giving you cancer, and 9/11 being an inside job. Back on campus, as everyone gears up for Thomas Godolkin Day, they start putting up these posters of Jordan with the slogan "Make America Super Again," and they're not just regular posters, they're lenticular prints, so the image changes depending on where you're standing. And it's such a cool visual trick, but also kind of a wild thing when you think about it, because they're literally turning Jordan's powers and identity into a marketing gimmick to profit off. It's so insane. Now at Cipher's with Kate, Cipher says this.
I know, the new rug looks like a Dairy Queen's afterbirth, but I like it. It ties the room together.
And this has got to be a Lebowski reference. Cipher's even wearing a comfy looking sweater like Lebowski. Lebowski keeps saying that the rug that got peed on really tied the room together, and this just has to be a play on the fact that Dean Shetty died on this same rug. She died in this house and bled out on a rug in this room. I don't know if they've changed the rug, but I think this is meant to be the same rug, or at least a joke applied to her dying on the rug. As Kate leaves, we see the mysterious door, a vaulted locked door, which Yeah, suspicious much? What is behind that vaulted door? Is it more Nazi things? Is it a weird soup just locked up? Is it the real Dean Cipher? I swear to God, if it is the real Dean Cipher, if it is the real man that is supposed to be behind that door, and this is just a lizard guy, I swear to God. Back at God U, they're buttering Jordan up with too much Vought branded merch, a Homelander water bottle, Black Noir laptop, a V-Pad Pro like an Apple iPad Pro, and Jordan Lee cologne, perhaps? I also think there's a Tech Knight bike. They are just giving away stuff. Kate grabs Emma's arm like she's gonna use her powers on her, but her powers have been on the fritz since she got her skull literally caved in. When trying to figure out now who's doing the flyers around school, Emma says this about Maverick.
Maverick's more into bestiality than social justice, so.
And I don't know if you remember, but in season 1, Maverick's girlfriend was Sloane, a soup who could transform into an alpaca. So then Emma chases the soup down, and what's the boys without a room full of dicks? Something I'm sure I cannot show you on YouTube. How is no one like, leave? Also, smoking a blunt naked with your boy in a locker room feels weird, even in college. I don't care who you are, don't smoke a blunt naked. What if it falls on you? You burn your dick. I digress. Sam goes to Kate now to seek help, and in Kate's room, you can see the flip poster that looks so close to the Freaky Friday poster. She's also gotten into painting, and her room looks really different this year. It's way less Vought soup themed, like she's trying to strip some of that identity away. One of the paintings even feels like a self-portrait of the moment when her brain spilled out raw onto the pavement. It could be a painting of her powers, but does it not remind you that her head just bled out? Now angry, Sam and Jordan start wrestling through the walls in the dorm, and I spent so long in our trailer breakdown, breaking down every one of these bands and their posters, only to find out now it just belongs to the guy that chugs beer in his butt, playing with the guy that gets into his butt. It was meaningless. Or was it? Sam, after fighting, then makes this gesture.
Luke had the right idea.
And this is just reminding us that Sam's brother, Luke, Golden Boy, flew up to the sky and made himself explode in the first episode of the first season. Marie stops by Pam's apartment to try to get some answers, and they speak on Annabeth, to which she tells Marie she hasn't heard from her or about her, and we later learn that that's a goddamn lie. But we learn that Marie was possibly part of a group of parents who went through IVF or some other procedure to have babies at Godolkin University, and Dr. Gold delivered her. Oh, surprise, surprise, Dr. Gold is Dean Cipher. And Dr. Gold sounds like the 4 first letters of Dr. Godolkin. So he is a vessel. Or he is Thomas Godolkin in the skin of another man. He's one of the things. He clearly is connected. He could be the son. He could be the son to Thomas Godolkin. He's very close to him. And I because of the weird things he eats, I want to believe that he's kind of a monster person feeding and doing these things for the nutrients, but I know he has the brain or consciousness or something of the actual Thomas Godolkin. Funny enough, we also learned that Harper, Rat Tail Girl, is actually the soup putting up the flyers, and she can actually mimic other soup's powers for about 60 seconds, and she's not a rat, she's a chameleon, which, damn, the tail really just ruins a lot of the charm of that character. After going through a million family photos, Marie discovers Annabeth has a room and lived with Aunt Pam, and she learns the hard way that Annabeth just doesn't want to see her, which Marie is completely right for this. Y'all are acting like she purposefully killed her parents, like she chose to get these horrible powers. Like, what is Aunt Pam and the people in this universe on? She loved her parents too. It was an accident. I mean, yeah, is it volatile accident? 100%, but it was an accident nonetheless, and I just don't like seeing Marie being like accused of being a horrible person when she couldn't do anything about it. My rant's over. I'm just irritated with Aunt Pam and Annabeth. I also don't like the added torment saying, turns out Annabeth was the real miracle. I think the writers put this in as another nod to maybe hint that maybe having Marie, a product from Compound V, was able to fix the issues her mother had with infertility, as well as allowing her to give birth to Annabeth thereafter. But if Marie is as strong as everyone says she is, in a way, she might have fixed her mother, and the residual Compound V or essence of Marie maybe was left behind on Annabeth. So could Annabeth also be a soup, just in hiding? Hi, now they're watching the Vought Kids puppet show, Avenue V, which we saw in the first season, of course, as I mentioned earlier. You can actually see an image of that episode in the Vought Kids menu. Additionally, it's actually very crazy to me that they're showing the Deep with the puppet octopus as if we've forgotten what he did to her last season. We learn a bit about Sam's background, that his mom is afraid of him, which is why he doesn't go home and just visit her. From the Gen V trailer, we know Sam will be landing outside of someone's home eventually, so it'll be a rude awakening then if that's his mother's home. When Emma tries to get Harper and her roommate involved in something bigger, actually taking action against like Homelander and Vought, they brush it off by saying they're performing arts students. At God U, there are 2 main tracks: performing arts for soups who will go into acting or public appearances, and then the hero track for those training to become professional heroes. The fact that Harper is is kind of like in performing arts makes their activism just also feel pretty performative, which I'm sure is a double entendre the writers were very happy to lean into and just write for this character. I don't think it's that big of a joke. I think it's serious. It's like, yeah, she's into performing arts, but the activism isn't really there. You gotta get involved. Like Emma said, you gotta take charge. It's Thomas Godolkin Day. We're all celebrating now. Get your firecracker funnel cake, shirts, and learn more about Thomas Godolkin. It's also the 60th anniversary of Godolkin University. Cipher brings up the ranking systems as a way to make the students feel more vital, like they matter more if they know exactly where they stand. And it's kind of wild that he keeps reminding them of that constantly, but it also feels like a system that's been around since the early days of Godolkin, probably something that Thomas Godolkin himself put in place when he started God U. And we learn that our new number one is Jordan Lee, and it's no longer Kate. Then after going through a bit of their assigned speech, Jordan then outs Andre dying within Elmira, almost killing Kate, and Vought murdering the Starlighters as innocent victims, which pisses everyone off instantly, calling them a traitor. And then that's the end of the 3-episode premiere. And I know I've been on Cipher's case, but something about him still feels off, like there's something bigger brewing there. And that said, I think Odessa might end up being the real showstopper. Marie's role is clearly building towards something huge for the final season of The Boys. Even their social media has been hyping her up, and understanding Odessa might be the key to really grasping why this season matters so much overall. As for everyone else, we still don't know what's going to happen with Jordan. Will they be forced back to Elmira after outing their shady deeds, everyone's shady deeds? And Emma, girl, please get Harper together. Also the bee lady, keep being a Plus, there's still so much we haven't seen yet. The big fight between Marie and Jordan, Sam maybe heading back home, and that mysterious scene with Marie and Cipher and that sheep. There's still a lot to come. Comment down below with your thoughts on Gen V's 3-episode premiere, and I don't know if you know this, but guess what? New Rockstars is getting a horror channel. It's called The Witching Hour. This is where we'll talk about all things scary and entertainment. Maybe sometimes not just entertainment, but we'll talk about scary things nonetheless. And you should come join us. You guys know how we like talking about scary movies. Follow me at Lulu Clemons, and a big thanks to Gina Ippolito for helping me write this bad boy. Subscribe to all the channels in the New Rockstars Network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and remember, justice never forgets. Shh.